My name is Demisty Bellinger-Delfeld. Hi, Gary. I am a professor, of course, here at Fitchburg State University. Um, what else should I introduce myself? It's fine to call me Demisty, or if you don't feel comfortable, Professor is fine, or Professor Bellinger-Delfeld, or pick one of those last names. Um, how I should introduce myself. I'm not sure if you guys have seen my bio. I am a um, I write in all genres, but I feel most comfortable in fiction and poetry. I have a book out, a novel out. I have two poetry collections out. One is full length, one is just a chap. I have lots of publications, as you all will eventually, if you already don't have those publications and everything. Um, I and a colleague designed this program for people who want to either um, gird their credentials for teaching or for people who just want to get portfolios together or get a stronger um, grounding if they wanted to go on for an MFA or an MA. These classes can be used in the MA program here if you were to go on, and that would be an MA in English, not in creative writing. So this is this class. This class was actually originally designed by the poet Ian Williams, who used to teach here prior to when I got here, and he's in Canada now, and he's living a good life, winning a lot of awards. Um, and I took the class over and I made it more of a workshop class. The first part of this class is very instruction heavy, and you'll do a lot of writing on your own with this, hopefully. But the second half of the class is going to be all workshop, and we'll talk more about that. Any questions so far? Do you guys feel like introducing yourself at all? Does anyone want to say anything about themselves? Lucia, you want to? You kind of shrug.
Sure. Um, I'm Lucia. I'm doing a master's of education, and my specialty is ELA. So I'm taking some ELA courses, and I'm not somebody who ever expected to go back to school, but I'm really enjoying this opportunity to explore things further. Um, my writing has mostly been spec fic, short genre work. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to talk to us at all?
I don't mind.
Sure.
I'm Reed. I'm part of the Master's English program at Fitchburg State. Um, my end goal is to get a PhD, and I'm usually more interested in the theory and research aspect. But in my undergrad, I took a poetry and an advanced poetry workshop, and I really hated poetry until I took those classes, and then I ended up really liking it, and it's probably my favorite form of creative writing now because it fits with the fact that I have so much ADHD and I could not sit and write a whole book. Um, so I was really excited to take this class and get to experience that again because unfortunately my master's or my final class in advanced poetry workshop got kind of disjointed by the pandemic, and we had to go from it in person to online. So I'm excited, and I currently work at Massachusetts Community College.
Oh,
So
okay.
I
Yeah.
I work at a partner college.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good school. I have a gym membership there. I think the gym there is not necessarily better than Fitchburg State. It's more lively. That makes sense. There's more people there, and there's a pool. So yeah, it's a great calendar. Okay. Emma, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, sure. My computer is kind of old and dying, so I'm sorry if this sounds bad. I definitely am going to have to retire this one soon. I'm gonna start this with a fun fact about Reed. Actually, Reed works. Reed works with my ex-boyfriend's mom, which I think is so funny. It's like one of the first things Reed ever said to me is like, "Hey, you know this lady?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's the best." Really funny. I teach 12th grade English. I love it. I love English. I love writing, specifically poetry. I unfortunately have lost the attention span to read novels, although I love them. But sitting down to read one is a lot harder than reading a collection of poetry.
Okay. All right. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Michael, as you can see. I have my bachelor's in English, and I'm at Fitchburg State now doing the creative writing certificate. So this will be my foray into poetry in quite a while, but it'll be good. I'm excited. So
Good.
That's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. And last, but of course not least, Gary, you want to?
Yes, hi guys. My name's Gary. I'm glad to be here. I've written lots of stuff my whole life. You can see the keyboard. I'm a musician, and my day job is I teach music to elementary kids in a public school. So I've written, like I said, I've written lots of things in my whole life. I've written songs. I've written plays, and I am here for two reasons. One is, when I get through this certificate, I get a raise, believe it or not.
Yay.
So I'm literally getting paid in a sense, like in my retirement. I'll make more money because of this class. So thank you, doctor, for raising my retirement pension. I guess that makes me a professional at this point, but I love writing coming of age. That's my total thing. I'm like all coming of age, like a one-track mind genre. Whether it be poetry or fiction, that's the whole thing for me. I love adolescence, and most of my stuff is written about growing up in the 1980s as a Gen Xer. So,
yeah. So you and I are probably around the same age then.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
All right. So I am going to present a screen pretty soon. And I just want to say, Gary, you said that you like writing for a young audience or that whole coming of age. You know, poetry, I mean, novel and verse is a thing now. There's a few writers who have tried it, especially for young adults. I do want to see it for adults. Like novel and verse would be a lot of fun, I think. I thought about doing that too. I'm going to present my screen. Trying to figure out how to do this. I haven't been on Google Meet for a couple of months because of the summer, but let's see. Present. Yes. Okay. So this is we're going to be pretty short today. At least I think we're going to be pretty short today. Let me see if I can do it as start slideshow. Yeah. Awesome. More of an introductory talk about the let me actually look at that first about the syllabus. If you have looked at the syllabus at all, I'm not sure if you have. I'm gonna look at that first. Sorry for switching around. This is our Blackboard page. Hopefully everybody knows how to get to Blackboard. If not, please email me and let me know. Our syllabus is on the side here. Is it gonna go there? I can't. Okay. I see what I have to do. All right, here we are. Syllabus. Practice of poetry. Share this tab instead. I'm not going to go through the whole syllabus. I trust that you guys will be able to read everything just fine. I just want to make sure it's showing up here. Okay. Okay. So no textbooks. Everything is going to be online. This is the first time I'm teaching it. Most of all the readings are up except for the poems, and that will change probably through the week. Most of the sonnets are up that we're going to be reading for this week. There are the course goals and outcomes. That's the catalog description of the class. And for this semester, I would like to intentionally look at intentionality and audience reception. And I forgot the word look there. With peers and with published work, we can look at how much the poet wants to be seen in their work, how often the speaker of the poem is the poet, some universal speaker or a specific other, like persona poems. I love writing persona poems, poems from other people's points of view, and we'll talk about that extensively. As for poetics, I myself am curious about the purpose of poetry today in a world inundated with large language models, which I have to interrupt myself and say that someone recently won a contest using Chat GPT, and it was for an experimental magazine or with an experimental publisher. But still, some people were very upset that a poet wrote a book of poems using Chat GPT. however tongue-in-cheek it was the question of, well, did the poet write it or did this program write it? So I don't know, it's something that's interesting to me. So, and talking as an industry leaders claiming we have to get on board or be left behind. First part of the semester, as I said, we'll be doing a lot of discovering through lectures and discussion every other week, unless you guys want to meet more. On Monday, we'll meet in person like we are doing now. Otherwise, I'll post written lessons online. And these meetings will be short, hour or less. All readings are online. I'll post a discussion board each week by Tuesday or probably by Monday. And I'll be giving you at least one poetry prompt. This prompt for this week is going to be to write a sonnet, and I'll explain that a little bit more. And then we'll have one analytical paper or personal poetics, and that will be at the end of the semester. This class is online again. So you don't have to worry about being here. So lectures are posted on Mondays. Discussion board posts are due by Sunday night. So next Sunday, really short. You don't have to really go into it. When we get to the workshops, peer responses are due by Wednesday night, 11:59 p.m. And you'll get a lot of directions for that. They will not begin until later in the semester, and of course, reading load will drop to accommodate students spending time with workshop materials. I really want you to pay attention to each other's work instead of the published poems. If you need an extension, just contact me later than 3 days before the assignment is due. If you turn it in without an extension, it won't be graded. And of course, you're responsible for completing all courses, course requirements, and keeping up with all the activities. Respect. Topics covered in class may venture into contentious issues, which is fine, but be mindful for others and treat others with respect. Don't attack anyone or use harmful stereotypical language. I wrote this really fast. Understand that the world is filled with people from various backgrounds, including race, class, ethnicity, gender, disability, and so on. You can write about these things, but you can't, see if I can make this, you can't proselytize these things. Like, you can write about sexism, you can write about disability, but you can't be like racist or sexist, if that makes sense. So yeah, just follow the golden rule. Privacy should be a safe space to learn where students enjoy confidentiality. I am recording these and I will delete them. One of the things that I ask that you do, I don't know if I do it here or elsewhere, delete all your peers' work if you have it on your hard drives at the end of the semester. Of course, no plagiarizing. I don't expect that in this class at all. Students with disabilities can see me or write me if you need any help with anything or accommodations. There's counseling services is offered to you even online. There's counseling services if you're in town and you're living paycheck to paycheck like some of us, and you run out of food or any basic needs like deodorant or other toiletries, or if you need a suit for an interview, you can go to Falcon Bazaar, which is G23, I believe. I had to get rid of Our Father's House. That is now dead. So check email and Blackboard often for TBAs. This will always be the link for our Google Meet. If it doesn't work, just write me and I'll constantly be checking my email to make sure I'm not missing anyone. So any questions about the syllabus? Do I have anything else? So yeah, our last lecture will be the week of Halloween. And then after that, it's going to be all workshops. If we don't need it in week 13, we might meet again in person online to just say goodbye. I have a question. How many of you are in this area, in the Fitchburg area? So 2 or 3. Okay. All right. Okay. So it's thundering and lightning here. So
I have a question, Doctor. Sure. First of all, should we call you Doctor?
You can call me Doctor or Professor, whichever feels more comfortable to you.
Well, Doctor, I have a question. Where did you folks find the link for this? You sent me the email, but I could not locate this link anywhere for the for this call.
Okay. It is on the syllabus, so like
on the
syllabus. Yeah. And I can post it on Blackboard, so it'll always be on the front page. I will make sure that.
Okay, because I looked under where it says Zoom of this class, like the tools, and I was looking for it there, and it was not there.
I didn't even know that was an option, Gary. I'll look for that.
So if you go, when I went under the class and you call up where the class is, and it gives you the option like off to the left. There's I go to tools, and then it actually says Zoom.
Okay.
But the other thing
that is something new.
What about when is the first assignment going to be coming?
I will post it probably tonight or tomorrow morning. And it's not anything that, well, there's two parts. One, you have to turn in, and that's just a discussion board. I'll post that discussion board question either today or tomorrow, and it's going to be regarding the readings. Those aren't going to be due until Sunday night at 11:59. Write poems on your own. I'm not going to, unless you want to share them with us. I can make a page where we all share our poems, but I'm not going to collect the poems until we do workshops. And for workshops, I'm thinking about collecting 5 poems from each of you. If you want to do 3 to 5, you can argue and say, I'd rather do 3. I'm going to check out this Zoom. I didn't know this was there, and I will see if I can put the link there, because that might be easier to jump into that. I didn't know that was it. I think it ended with wikis last I checked the tools page. So thanks for telling me that. Any other questions? Okay. I don't want this to be a difficult class. It's not going to be a difficult class. I think the hardest thing is probably the poetics or analytical paper, and that we'll talk about what that is a little bit more. So again, just an intro. I'll get you out of here by 6 o'clock, and I will share this as a PDF. The thing that I'm sharing now, I'll post it on Blackboard as a PDF. Okay, so we looked at the introduction. There are going to be 3 readings for this week. I would like you to read all of David Orr's section on Beautiful and Pointless. That is in Blackboard. I'm actually going to switch windows. I'm going to go here, and we're going to go into our class. And under course documents, there's 2 folders, reading essays and reading poems. If you click it, you probably looked at this already, but reading essays, this is from Beautiful and Pointless. This is the first thing I want you to read, right? From David Orr. So, and if you click on it, it depends on if I was paying attention or not. It might open up in a new window or not. But this is the last chapter of that book, is Why Bother? I like this book. This whole book is so good. I really encourage you to read it, because it's very accessible. It's not talking down to the reader, but it's not using a lot of jargon without defining that jargon. It's very conversational, so I enjoy that. And I can't put defensive poetry and apology on, but this is from another class, and you'll see my little notes here and there. Just ignore them. They're not. It's not a very long section, so read through that, and I'll probably make the. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time thinking. I'll probably make the discussion board post about the other thing I have up is really skim it, because it is an encyclopedia entry of poetry and poetics. Just skim it for the poetry definition. There's two from that particular thing. I'm going to go back to share this tab again and go into course documents, readings, essays, and down here you have poetry from Princeton and poetics from Princeton. Do poetry. I'll get the book next time I'm in my office, and I'll bring it home. But it's not even showing up. Share this tab instead. Is it gonna show? Slow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So you can see it's like a encyclopedia entry, but the whole book is all on poetry, different aspects of poetry. And I think once a year I say, I'm going to read the whole book through. And of course, that's never going to happen because it's dry. So really just skim through it. And then I have modern sonnets on Blackboard. I always will give you more poems than you know what to do with, because I think that you should read everything. I like that a lot. Respond to the readings on a discussion board, and again, write an original sonnet on your own. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Any questions? Okay, I have a question for you. How do you define poetry? Or if you don't really have a definition, what do you think that every poem must have to make it a poem? Anyone? Ideas? Gary, are you talking? You're muted.
Okay, sorry.
No,
I was actually talking to myself, but I guess I'll share what I was saying. Guess I'll share what I was saying when I was talking to myself. To me, if something is poetry, I think it has to be really heavily laden with images and figures of speech, more than what prose would be.
Okay.
And I guess I'm staying away from the line thing. I mean, I suppose like the old-fashioned definition might be verse in line form, but I mean, there's so many variations of it now. A lot of what I write is prose poetry, so
yeah,
I've gotten away from the line thing a lot. So I would say heavily laden with imagery and figurative language. That would be my definition.
Okay.
Literature, that is. I mean, I didn't say that part.
Does anyone else have a definition? Thank you, Gary, for sharing that with us. I think yours is kind of in line with mine. Yes, Lucia.
For me, there's something intentional about the pacing and the flow of the language, that there's something rhythmic. And yeah, that intentionality is part of that.
Okay. So it has like a rhythm to it, is what you're saying. And that's one thing I left out of my definition. Okay. All right, good. Any more ideas? Okay. I have a bunch of quotes of what some people have said. And first time has really been talked about is Aristotle with Poetics. Poetry is something more philosophical, more worthy of serious attention than history. And you can look through those if you want to. I like this next. I'll read them. Why not? Too many people in the modern world view poetry as a luxury, not a necessity like petrol. But to me, it is the oil of life. Even when poetry has a meaning, as it usually has, it may be inadvisable to draw it out. Perfect understanding will sometimes almost extinguish pleasure. I don't know if that's true or not. I like that idea. One of the things that happens in workshops, especially when you're workshopping with young people, either in high school or college, for those of us who teach, they really want to get at what the poem means. And that may not be what the poet cares about. They may not care about if you get what it means or not. So sometimes it does. Like I had this one workshop when I did the old-fashioned Iowa version where the writer had to be quiet and everyone just kind of ripped the writer a new one, hopefully nicely. But they just got stuck on the meaning and they didn't really give the poet any help of improving the words or the rhythm or the imagery. So that's something to think about. Gertrude Stein says poetry is doing nothing but using losing, refusing, and pleasing, and betraying and caressing nouns, as Gertrude Stein would always talk like that, right? And famous one from Emily Dickinson: if I read a book and it makes my whole body so cold, no fire can ever warm me, I know that is poetry. If I feel physically as if the top of my head were taken off, I know that is poetry. These are the only ways I know it. Is there any other way? Mary Oliver, I love her. She has this poem. Is that Mary Oliver? Called The Pope's Penis, which is more funny than it should be. Poetry isn't a profession. It's a way of life. It's an empty basket. You put your life into it and make something out of that. Rita Dove, poetry is language as is most distilled and most powerful. I do think that poets often try to get to the sensuality of language, like the essence of what the word is. Poetry is the art of creating imaginary gardens with real toads, says Marion Moore. And Adrian Rich says, poetry is the liquid voice that can wear through stone. Fun quotes. But my definition is writing in verse, which more than likely includes the use of imagery and may include other poetic devices. But mostly, if the poet calls it a poem, it's a poem. I'm not going to argue with someone who says that it's a poem. I have kind of an open secret to tell you. When I first got this job at Fitchburg State, I guess it was 10 years ago, I only wrote fiction. I did a little bit of creative nonfiction, and I wrote poetry when I was much younger. But they were looking for someone who could teach both fiction and poetry. And I had these flash pieces that were really funky, kind of more experimental than not. So I decided to get the job that I'll just call them poems. But I don't know. Some things you want to be a poem and you start off writing it as a poem. And I do that mostly now. I don't fake it anymore. Once I got the job, I thought, oh, I have to write poems because I don't want to be a fake. Form first. So we're going to talk about some poetic forms. I am not telling you that you have to turn in, when you turn in your 5 poems, that you have to turn in forms. I usually don't. But I think it's good to have some grounding in poetic forms. And I'm starting with the easiest one, at least I think is the easiest to deal with, is the sonnet. And you can say haiku, and I don't mind if you do turn in haiku in the future or write haiku. Is haiku easier? I guess in some ways it is. And when someone challenged my idea of haiku by saying, well, syllables don't work the same in Japanese, and haiku doesn't really work as we think it does in Japanese, and it's not like 3 lines because the language is written differently. It's not left to right, is down, up to down. So it makes me want to learn Japanese. So we're gonna do sonnets.
I could weigh in on this one. I lived in Japan for 4 months and I studied there. Technically it's still 3 lines. It's just traditionally written up and down, and you read it this way. But technically you could still follow the 3-line pattern.
Okay.
Their words are just a lot longer than ours, but they still follow syllables because every word has to be a consonant vowel combination, and very few end on a hard. Yeah. Okay. So every character usually has an a, I, U, E, O sound to it.
Okay.
And then it's just the beginning hard consonant. So they do follow a syllable pattern, and then there's only one, which is the only hard consonant sound you can end on.
Okay. All right. That's like Kiawande, which is an African language where every word has to have a vowel at the end. I don't know. Is there something about language and those little idiosyncrasies of certain languages make me love it more and just want to learn more about languages. But Japanese is also a very tonal language, right? I think a lot of Asian languages are.
Theirs isn't tonal like Chinese. Every word, if you read it correctly, you've probably pronounced it correctly. There's only a couple that are close, but theirs is, speaking wise, incredibly straightforward. Reading it, not so much.
Okay. All right. Okay. Interesting. So I'm going to give you like the basics of a sonnet and tell my students to learn it and then fuck with it. So there are 2 types of sonnets, the Petrarch and Shakespeare. So Petrarch was the guy who kind of started the sonnet. He was a Renaissance Italian writer, and he was the one that had all the love sonnets and everything. And Shakespeare, of course, changed the idea of how the sonnet should be. 14 lines, usually iambic. Petrarch had an octave, which is 8, of course, and a sestet, which is 6. And the rhyme scheme was A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, C, D, E, C, D, E. Shakespeare does not divide, but the last 2 lines are usually indented. And Shakespeare's rhyme scheme is A, B, D, A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, G, or E, F, E, F, G, G. Why did I mess it up this time? There's a turn at the end of the sonnet, and some modern poets do this and some don't. So if you, it is my last slide. So if you are writing the Petrarchian sonnet, that turn comes with the CDE, CDE. And for Shakespeare, it comes with the GG. And that turn just means like you can be happy with the AB, AB, CD, CD. But when you get to the CDE, CDE, something horrible happens. Or the opposite. This could be happy and this could be horrible. Or this could be lovely and then this could be scary. So there's like a slight turn at the end. I'm going to show you an old example and I'm going to show you a new example of that. I just have to find my sonnets. So go back. Do I have them all up yet? I don't think I have them all up yet because I don't have Shakespeare's here yet. Nope, I don't. Okay. Give me a second. Oh. I'll just keep it in here. Browse local files. Sorry. Shakespeare. Sonnet 130. Okay, this is the one I usually use. Because it's so simple. Submit. And there's a lot more sonnets, and not a whole lot more, but some more. So this is sonnet 130. Make sure you guys see this. Yeah, okay. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. Snow be white, why then her breasts are done. Hairs be wires, black wires grow on her head. I've seen roses damasked, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. I love to hear her speak, yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. And yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. So that's the Volta here, right here at those last 2 lines. He's talking about, I don't think we have to really go through the meaning. He's talking about, and it's kind of a sonnet against the Petrarch sonnet where, you know, my mistress's eyes are like the sun, her lips are rosy red. I love her so much, blah, blah, perfect, white, everything. And he's saying that, you know, she ain't all that. But like everything he says about her, like, why do you even like her? But he says he loved to hear her speak. And at the end, she's rare. There's nothing that he can compare her to. So you see that Volta there. I think that makes it really effective. I'm going to go back to sonnets and look at a more modern one to see if he does it. There's a lot here I have by Terrence Hayes because he has a book that is called America's Sonnet for My Past and Future Assassin. And every poem in that book are called America's Sonnet for My Past and Future Assassin. And actually, in this little section I have with all of Hayes's poems is this little interview, and he talks about his sonnets and his book. Let's just look at the original one. And if you want to listen to him, you can probably listen to him. I'm not sure how. Oh, let me play it and see if it works. If it sounds terrible, we'll see.
I don't think we can hear it.
You can't hear it? Okay.
Usually when you share your screen, you have to click the option to share sound too.
Are you serious? Oh,
Yes.
How annoying. Let me try this. Okay. Let me just tell me if you can hear. I'm going to play like 5 seconds of it.
To say a nigga can survive.
Can you hear that? No. Okay.
Yes,
All
we
right.
can hear that.
You could hear that time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'll play it. All right. Okay. Oh, stop. Shush. Let me see. Which one? Wait. Sorry, guys. Me and technology. Okay. Is it this one? Yes, it is. Okay.
Past and future assassin. Probably twilight makes blackness dangerous darkness. Probably all my encounters are existential jambalaya, which is to say, a nigga can survive. Something happened in Sanford, something happened in Ferguson and Brooklyn and Charleston, something happened in Chicago and Cleveland and Baltimore, and happens almost everywhere in this country every day. Probably someone is prey in all of our encounters. You won't admit it. The names alive are like the names in graves. Probably twilight makes blackness, darkness, and a gate. Probably the dark blue skin of a black man matches the dark blue skin of his son the way one twilight matches another.
Okay. So more about I'm so glad you can hear that because I didn't want to use the N-word. But so you can hear as modern as you hear the change. And if you read the book, not all poems are as dismal as that one in this book. But like some are love poems and some are about love of family too. Some are about dancing. So they're not all depressing like that one. But the thing that I love about the sonnet is that it has sustained over at least, what is it now, 500 years, about, give or take. And because there is a rhyme scheme in both Petrarch's and Shakespeare's, and if you look at Spenserian sonnets too, doesn't mean that we have to rhyme today. Most modern sonnets do not. Some people call them 14 liners to get around that it doesn't really follow the sonnet form. So what I'd like you to do, if possible, sometime this week, again, you don't have to turn it in your poems, is to write at least one sonnet. And I would like you to write a sonnet if you can't think about what to write about. Write about fall. I don't know where you are, those of us who are not in Massachusetts, but fall was something different to me when I lived in Wisconsin, which is full of trees. I'm originally from Wisconsin. And it was different for me when I lived in New York. I mean, not New York, Nebraska, which is flat and hardly has any trees. And when I lived in New York on Long Island, which was more, I don't know, more beach-like, then when I live here in New England and I understand the leafers, those leaf peepers or whatever they're called, because the colors here are just insane. I didn't even imagine, Wisconsin has lots of trees, but when I go home now, or what was home, I think, oh, most of these are evergreen trees. They don't change. They're the ones that change, like New England, don't change like that here. Every part of this country is beautiful and in its own way, except for Mississippi. No, I'm just kidding. Mississippi probably has its ways. Mississippi is very dusty. That's all I remember about it. But maybe you can write a sonnet about fall if you can't think of what to write about. I always pick the weather if I can't think of anything. I am one of those people, last thing I'll say today, I am one of those people who don't believe in writer's block. I just don't think it's a thing. So it's always something to write about. And if you can't figure out what to write about something else. Any questions or comments?
I have a question, Doctor. So just to clarify, are we saying that we are to rhyme or not to rhyme?
Oh, you don't have to rhyme. If you want to, by all means do. I think I've written probably in my lifetime 1 or 2 poems that rhyme as an adult. As a kid, of course, you try to rhyme. But no, you don't have. If you want to follow the rhyme scheme, you're more than welcome to. But I am not requiring it. Good question. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I will post this online. This meeting, and I also will post the lectures that I have online too. Okay.
I have one more question, Doctor.
Sure. Sure.
Could you clarify again? I've never done anything from Fitchburg State. Could you clarify again when we get the assignment? Could you clarify the discussion part? We're supposed to.
Oh, sure. Let's look at the discussion board.
I didn't know what to do there.
Okay, let's look at that. Because I haven't made it yet. So if you don't mind, if you have to log off now, if you have to go, that's fine. But I'll actually write the question because I'm thinking about it now. So what is the name of that one? Sorry. Beautiful and Pointless we're going to read, and the chapter Why Bother. It's going to be a really generic question, so let me share. So I'm going to make the discussion board post. On the side here, something says discussions. I'm going to create the first form. And on Why Bother and Beautiful and Pointless. Please post one original post and respond to at least one classmate on this week's reading. It can be about anything you like, or if you need a let's do bullet points. Where are they? Do you agree with or about why we should bother with poetry? Explain. Or why do you bother writing in today's climate? Okay, and I'm not going to restrict it. I'm going to grade it. Let's just say everything is worth 10 points. It's going to be due Sunday, I said, at end of the day. I'm going to allow you to delete it. Okay, submit. All right, I am going to go into student view. So I'm going to look at it like you guys would see it. And this is how your page should look. If I go on the side to discussion board, you'll see one thing and it will have those two questions. So you'll just click on it and you'll create a thread and you'll give it a subject. I don't think we should bother, or something like that. And I don't want you to go, you don't have to feel like you have to write a treatise or anything like that. It could be just like 2 or 3 sentences, blah, 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 whatever. And then you press submit, right? And that will be up. And then when it starts populating with threads, and then you'll know that you can respond to someone's thread or not. So does that help, Gary?
Yes, that does help. So are you saying, Doctor, that the assignment is to do the readings and then to do the discussion board? Is that
Yes.
the official assignment?
Yes.
Okay. And then writing the sonnet is something that could, you said, go toward or poems at the end, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for asking that. I just assumed that people. So sorry about that. So thank you for the question. Any other questions? Okay. Again, if you have any questions throughout the week, feel free to email me. It might be a day or two before I respond, but I will respond. If I don't, email me again and remind me. Okay. All right. Okay, have a good week. It's good to meet you all.
See you, everybody.
Good to meet you. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye.